Welcome to Pollen Weather by Pollen Wise App. It's Friday, September 18th. I'm Landon Bunderson, and this is the place for daily allergy news and forecasts. Sally is moving across Virginia and the Carolinas this morning. If you're out that way, keep an eye out for flooding, thunderstorms, and even tornadoes. That wet weather should move out to sea by midday, leaving some tranquil weather for the weekend. Temperatures cool today in the upper Midwest and Northeast, lots of places with highs in the 50s. On the other end of the country, Phoenix is going to turn in 101 degrees for the high today. Much of the country is in the 70s and 80s. Great temperatures for getting outside if the pollen and mold are low in your area. Just a reminder, if you're watching on YouTube, like and subscribe. Pollen levels today are going to be slightly higher than they were yesterday. We've got a few more 80 and 90 pollen index scores out there. Iowa, Missouri, Illinois, Kentucky, you've got some especially high levels. Dallas, Fort Worth, very high pollen as well. But we do have a fair number of yellow and green numbers on the map. Many of those are either associated with rainfall suppressing levels or they are in the northern states. Of course, we're lumping Colorado in with the northern states thanks to the frost last week. Austin and San Antonio, your pollen hasn't been off the charts, but we are seeing levels remain consistently high all day. So don't be surprised if you're feeling a bit extra this week thanks to fall elm and ragweed. Mold might be contributing to what's ailing Texans as well. In fact, if you look at the mold map, we're seeing a lot of 50s and 60s out there. That's definitely enough to feel it if you're sensitive. And there are a lot of different kinds of molds, so that could explain why sometimes it feels like the mold is bothering you and sometimes it isn't. Mold is very high in parts of the West, but again, I do think a lot of that is associated with fires. I think the mold levels will continue to climb around the eastern half of the country over the weekend. Keep an eye on the app. A little good news on the air quality map is Oregon's rainfall over the last few days combined with the efforts of fire crews has impacted the smoke in Oregon in a positive way. That cool air moving in from the north is pushing smoke from the west in an arc out of the northern plains and into the southern plains. That's going to wiggle a little bit over the weekend, so definitely keep an eye on your local air quality. Today's feature is our 5-day pollen trend map. This is where we compare the pollen levels from this week with the pollen levels from last week. There was a heavy increase in the northeast thanks mostly to Philly and DC, which kind of went off the charts this week. The south central region has experienced a slight uptick in levels, as has the northwest. Arizona, Nevada, and California appear to be past their peak with a mild decrease in pollen in that region. There wasn't any rain that suppressed levels over the last week in those areas, so it looks like that's a real trend. The rest of the country is neutral, and I take that as a good sign that we could be past the peak for a lot of the country. Thanks for listening. Remember, you can find previous episodes on the Pollen Channel on YouTube. If you're listening on YouTube, check out the Pollen Wise app, the only place for real hourly pollen and mold counts.